Davos 2025, Expert Predictions on Green Technology Investments. Event Overview. The World Economic Forum WEF annual meeting held in Davos from January 20 to 24, 2025 gathered global leaders, policymakers and industry experts under the theme Collaboration for the Intelligent Age. A pivotal topic of discussion was the forecasted 30% increase in investments in green technologies by the fourth quarter of 2026. This surge is anticipated as a direct response to newly proposed economic policies aimed at addressing climate change and fostering economic recovery. Key themes and predictions. 1. Economic growth outlook. According to the International Monetary Fund (IMF), global growth is expected to stabilize at 3.3% in 2025, slightly below historical averages. The anticipated decrease in inflation rates was discussed as a significant factor for shaping investment strategies, particularly in green technologies, as part of broader economic revitalization efforts. Source 1. 2. Climate action as a business imperative. The urgency of addressing climate change was underscored during the discussions, especially following 2024's record heat. Despite setbacks like the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, the consensus among leaders was that momentum toward green technologies and decarbonization is unstoppable. Business leaders highlighted that climate goals are now central to corporate strategies. Source 3. 3. Investment surge in green technologies. The anticipated increase in investments in green technologies is viewed as a response to both climate commitments and economic recovery efforts. The WEF emphasized the necessity of tripling renewable energy sources and doubling energy efficiency by 2030, indicating that significant capital will be required to meet these targets. Source 3. For global cooperation and policy changes, the discussions at Davos highlighted the need for international collaboration to create a favorable environment for investing in sustainable technologies. This includes reducing regulatory burdens and increasing financial incentives. Economists expect that policy adjustments in the U.S. under a new administration could further enhance the investment climate through tax cuts and supportive measures. Source 2. Economic implications of growth rates. Ana Botten from Banco Santander provided insights into the economic implications of growth rates, noting that a shift from 3% to 5% growth could result in approximately $3 trillion annually. This growth could significantly aid in reducing inequality and funding innovation. Source 1. Public debt challenges. Discussions also addressed the alarming global public debt, which has recently surpassed $100 trillion. This scenario necessitates innovative economic strategies to ensure sustainable growth and investment in green initiatives. Source 1. Comparative source analysis. Climate versus economic growth focus. Although all sources acknowledged the importance of green investments, Source 3 emphasized climate action as a critical business requirement, whereas Sources 1 and 2 focused more on economic growth mechanisms and forecasts. Event timeline. January 20 to 24, 2025, conduct of the annual meeting in Davos centering on economic growth and climate action. End of 2024, marked as the hottest year on record, prompting urgent discussions on climate action. Source 3. 2025 and beyond, experts predict a 30% rise in investments in green technologies by Q4 2026 in response to the discussed economic policies. Sources 1 to 3. Conclusion. The Davos 2025 meetings highlighted a collective understanding of the necessity to integrate economic recovery with aggressive climate action. The expected rise in green technology investments is seen not only as a reaction to climate challenges but also as essential for sustainable economic growth through innovative policy frameworks and international cooperation. Key sessions and insights from Davos 2025. Throughout the event, various sessions focused on critical aspects of economic growth and climate action. The future of growth discussed methodologies to achieve beneficial growth amidst changing global dynamics. Notably, Saudi Arabia's Minister of Economy and Planning Faisal Al Ibrahim commented on the transition from hyperglobalization to a new form of globalization. Source 2. Climate Finance highlighted the urgent need for innovative financing methods to support the transition to a lower carbon economy. The chief economist's outlook indicated a complex year ahead with expectations of increased economic fragmentation and challenges in financing climate initiatives. Source 2. Global Economic Outlook. The final session provided a summary of the outlook, revealing that while some regions may experience growth, significant challenges remain, particularly in addressing public debt and achieving sustainable investment strategies. Source 2. Safeguarding the planet, a key theme. Underscoring the interconnectedness of climate action and economic policies. Leaders emphasized the importance of partnerships and collaborative efforts to meet global climate goals. Source 3. Call to action. The discussions at Davos 2025 serve as a clarion call for leaders across sectors to prioritize sustainable investments and collaborative policies. The predicted rise in green technology investments by 30% by the end of 2026 reflects not only an economic opportunity but also a critical pathway toward addressing the urgent climate crisis. In summary, Davos 2025 illuminated the path forward, emphasizing that the integration of economic growth with sustainable practices is not only possible but imperative for future resilience and prosperity. The content presents intriguing insights regarding the anticipated rise in investments in green technologies and related economic implications as discussed at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos 2025. Here are some counterintuitive pieces of information derived from the analysis. 1. Economic growth versus climate urgency. While one might assume that economic growth would be prioritized over environmental action, the discussions at Davos reveal a shift where climate action is seen as essential for economic recovery. This suggests that the urgency to combat climate change is intertwining with economic strategies, rather than being sidelined. The expectation of a 30% rise in investments in green technologies by Q4 2026 directly counters traditional views that economic growth and environmental sustainability cannot coexist harmoniously. 2. Resilience amidst fragmentation. The anticipated economic fragmentation due to geopolitical tensions is often viewed negatively in economic discussions. However, the forecasted rise in green technology investments suggests that this fragmentation might actually fuel innovation and cooperation in specific sectors, particularly those related to sustainability. This is contrary to the common narrative that fragmentation universally hinders economic progress. 3. Public debt as a catalyst for change. Traditionally, high public debt is seen as a barrier to growth and investment. However, the discussions indicate that the current global public debt, which has hit $100 trillion, could catalyze innovative economic strategies aimed at facilitating sustainable growth and investment in green technologies. This notion challenges the prevailing belief that debt is purely a hindrance for the unstoppable nature of climate momentum. The sentiment expressed by leaders that climate action is unstoppable despite setbacks such as the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement is a surprising assertion. This counterintuitive perspective suggests that even political pushback can't dampen the collective commitment to green technologies. The idea that climate action will proceed regardless of political hurdles contradicts the belief that policy changes are prerequisites for meaningful progress in environmental initiatives. 5. Business integration of climate goals. Business leaders at Davos emphasized integrating climate goals into corporate strategies, which contrasts with the historical view that environmental considerations are often secondary to profit. This paradigm shift indicates that climate considerations are becoming fundamental to business success rather than optional add-ons. 6. The role of developed nations in climate policy. The emphasis on policies that could close traditional pathways to development in developing countries due to advanced economies focusing on green industrial policies presents a paradox. While advanced economies are expected to enhance their sustainability efforts, this could inadvertently limit opportunities for developing nations, creating a tension between advanced and developing economies that is often overlooked. 7. Insurance deserts and climate risks. The prediction that insurance premiums for climate resilience will rise significantly by 2030 indicates a growing recognition of climate risks. This acknowledgement could lead to a counterintuitive outcome where rising costs prompt companies and governments to take more proactive measures in climate adaptation, rather than simply absorbing the financial impacts of climate-related events. 8. Technological consumption versus energy efficiency. As technology consumption rises with the advent of the intelligent age, one might expect energy usage to skyrocket. However, the discussions highlight a pressing need to balance this growth with enhanced energy efficiency measures. This dual focus challenges the assumption that technological advancement inherently leads to increased energy consumption. 9. Economic growth quality. The assertion that GDP growth alone is insufficient for meaningful progress contradicts conventional economic metrics that prioritize quantitative growth. This suggests a growing awareness that the manner in which growth occurs, its quality and alignment with sustainability goals, will increasingly dictate future economic policies and investments. 10. Collaboration over competition. The emphasis on global cooperation, particularly in the context of climate action, presents a counter-narrative to the competitive nature often attributed to international relations. The expectation that collective efforts can drive significant progress in green technologies contradicts the traditional view that competition is the main driver of innovation and economic success. These insights reveal a complex interplay between economic strategies and environmental imperatives that defy conventional wisdom, suggesting a transformative shift in how global leaders are approaching these critical issues. The report on the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos 2025 presents a variety of critical insights and predictions regarding economic growth and climate action. While many prominent discussions focus on the anticipated 30% rise in investment in green technologies by Q4 2026, several key details and themes may be easily overlooked. These overlooked aspects are vital as they highlight the intricate relationship between economic policies, climate action, and broader societal implications. 1. The role of public debt in economic recovery. One significant point that may not receive the attention it deserves is the discussion surrounding the staggering levels of global public debt recently hitting $100 trillion. The implications of this debt are profound. It raises questions about sustainability, future economic policies, and the ability of governments to invest in necessary initiatives, including green technologies. Significance. The reliance on debt to finance recovery efforts could lead to long-term economic challenges, particularly in developing nations where servicing this debt may overshadow investment in education and health. The urgency for innovative economic strategies to ensure sustainable growth is critical. If not addressed, this could hinder efforts to transition to a green economy by limiting available resources for investment in necessary technologies. 2. Integration of climate action into corporate strategy. Leaders at the forum emphasized that climate action is no longer just a regulatory requirement but a core element of corporate strategy. This sentiment, while gaining traction, is often diluted in broader discussions about growth. Significance. The integration of climate goals into corporate strategies can drive innovation and create new markets, but also poses challenges, particularly for companies that may struggle to balance profitability with sustainability. Understanding how companies navigate this landscape is crucial for stakeholders looking to invest in or partner with businesses focused on sustainability. 3. The shift from hyperglobalization to new globalization models. Faisal Al-Ibrahim's remarks on the shift from hyperglobalization to a new form of globalization reflect a critical change in how economies interact. This transition may often be overshadowed by immediate economic metrics, but it carries long-term implications for trade, investment, and climate policy. Significance. As global interactions evolve, countries must adapt their economic policies to remain competitive. This shift can lead to increased localization and diversification of supply chains, which may impact the cost and speed of green technology deployment. The strategic decisions made during this transition will influence the global climate action framework. 4. Regional divergence in growth expectations. The report notes significant regional divergence in economic growth expectations, particularly between the US and other major economies like Europe and China. While the US is poised for a short-term boost, the outlook elsewhere remains less optimistic. Significance: this divergence underscores the need for tailored policies that address specific regional challenges. It highlights the importance of global cooperation in climate initiatives, as regions may have varying capacities to invest in green technologies. Understanding these dynamics can aid in crafting policies that foster equitable growth and sustainable practices across borders. 5. The human cost of climate inaction. The sessions highlighted the growing costs of climate inaction, including potential conflicts linked to environmental degradation. This aspect, while touched upon, may not be sufficiently emphasized in discussions about economic growth. Significance: recognizing the human cost of climate inaction is essential for galvanizing public support for urgent climate policies. The intersection of climate change and social stability should inform both corporate and governmental strategies, ensuring that responses to climate challenges also prioritize human rights and community resilience. 6. The impact of technological advancements on climate solutions. The role of technology, particularly artificial intelligence, in driving efficiency and sustainability was presented but may not have been explored in depth. The potential for technology to enhance climate adaptation and mitigation efforts is profound. Significance: emphasizing the importance of technological innovations could lead to increased investments in sectors that support green technologies. Stakeholders must recognize that technology can bridge the gap between current capabilities and ambitious climate goals, enabling a more agile response to climate challenges. 7. Climate finance as a complex challenge. The report discusses the need for significant capital to finance the transition to a lower carbon economy, estimated at $1.7 trillion annually in emerging markets. However, the complexities of climate finance, including public policy frameworks and investment readiness, may not be fully appreciated. Significance: understanding the multifaceted nature of climate finance is crucial for stakeholders looking to invest or support green initiatives. Policymakers must create conducive environments that enable effective financing mechanisms, ensuring that capital flows towards sustainable projects are both robust and resilient. 8. The urgency of collaborative approaches. The call for global cooperation and collaboration among nations to foster an investment-friendly environment for sustainable technologies is a recurring theme. Yet, the practicalities of achieving such collaboration can often be overlooked in favor of nationalistic policies. Significance: emphasizing the need for collaboration is essential for addressing global challenges like climate change. Multilateral agreements and partnerships can facilitate knowledge sharing and resource mobilization, ultimately enhancing the effectiveness of climate actions and investments globally. Conclusion: the discussions and predictions emerging from Davos 2025 underscore a pivotal moment in the intersection of economic recovery and climate action. Recognizing the nuances and complexities behind the anticipated rise in green technology investments is essential for understanding the broader implications for society and the economy. Stakeholders must grasp the significance of public debt, corporate responsibility, regional dynamics, technological advancements, and collaborative efforts to navigate the path toward a sustainable future effectively. Ignoring these critical aspects could undermine the ambitious goals set forth and stall progress in addressing both economic and environmental challenges. 1. Investment surge in green technologies. The forecasted 30% rise in investments in green technologies by Q4 2026 reflects a critical pivot in global economic strategies driven by urgent climate needs and recent economic policies discussed at Davos 2025. This investment shift is not only a response to anticipated governmental economic policies, including potential tax incentives, but also a recognition of the necessity for sustainable growth. The World Economic Forum emphasized the need to triple renewable energy and double energy efficiency by 2030, highlighting the significant capital required to achieve these ambitious goals. This point invites an in-depth analysis of the mechanisms that could facilitate such investments, including public-private partnerships, innovative financing models, and government incentives. 2. Climate action as a business imperative. The discussions at Davos reinforced that climate change is increasingly viewed as a non-negotiable aspect of corporate responsibility. The sentiment among business leaders is that integrating climate goals into corporate strategies is essential. The acknowledgement that 2024 was the hottest year on record has intensified the urgency for businesses to adopt sustainable practices. This aspect opens a dialogue on how companies can align their operational models with climate goals, the role of corporate governance in driving sustainability, and the potential for innovation in green technology to create competitive advantages. 3. Global cooperation and policy changes. The need for international collaboration to create a favorable investment environment for sustainable technologies was a prominent theme. Discussions highlighted that reducing regulatory burdens and enhancing financial incentives are crucial for fostering growth in green sectors. The potential policy shifts anticipated under a new U.S. administration could catalyze this investment climate, suggesting a wider trend where nations can learn from each other's successes and failures in promoting green investments. Analyzing the implications of these cooperative efforts, including the challenges of geopolitical tensions and protectionist policies, can provide valuable insights into the future of global green investment strategies. For the economic growth outlook, the projection of a global growth rate stabilizing at 3.3% in 2025 is significant, especially as it is lower than historical averages. The implications of such growth rates on investment strategies, particularly in green technologies, merit further exploration. Economists at Davos indicated that the economic recovery must be intertwined with climate action, suggesting that sustainable growth could mitigate global inequalities exacerbated by economic disruptions. This point raises critical questions about how economic growth can be redefined to include not just quantitative measures but also qualitative aspects such as environmental sustainability and social equity, leading to broader discussions about the future of economic indicators in a changing world. These points collectively underscore the interconnectedness of economic policies, corporate responsibility, global cooperation, and growth forecasts in shaping the future landscape of investments in green technologies. 1. The Green New Deal U.S. 2019. The Green New Deal proposed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey aimed to address climate change and economic inequality in the United States. The resolution outlined a comprehensive plan to transition the U.S. economy to 100% renewable energy by 2030, create millions of jobs in the green sector, and promote social justice. The proposal sparked intense debate and highlighted the need for significant investment in green technologies and infrastructure, similar to the anticipated rise in investments in green technologies discussed at Davos 2025. 2. The European Union's Green Deal 2020. Launched by the European Commission, the European Green Deal is a roadmap aimed at making the EU's economy sustainable by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and promoting green technologies. It seeks to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050 and includes various measures to invest in renewable energy, energy efficiency, and sustainable transportation. This initiative aligns with the discussions at Davos 2025 regarding the necessity of increasing investment in green technologies as part of global climate action. 3. China's 14th Five-Year Plan 2021. China's 14th Five-Year Plan emphasizes green development and aims to peak carbon emissions by 2030 and achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. This plan includes substantial investment in renewable energy, electric vehicles, and green technologies, paralleling the predictions made at Davos 2025 about a significant rise in investments in green technologies as a response to economic policies and climate urgency. The plan represents a strategic shift in China's economic development, focusing on sustainability and environmental resilience. Future outlook. Predictions for Green Technology Investment by Q4 2026. Introduction. As global leaders convene at the World Economic Forum (WEF) in Davos in January 2025, the urgency for climate action and the need for economic recovery are at the forefront of discussions. A significant prediction emerging from these discussions is a forecasted 30% rise in investments in green technologies by the fourth quarter of 2026. This increase is expected to be driven by new economic policies and a collective acknowledgement of climate imperatives, particularly in light of the unprecedented climate events of recent years. 1. Economic growth stabilization. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) projects global economic growth to stabilize at around 3.3% in 2025, slightly below historical averages. This stabilization is anticipated to create a conducive environment for investment in green technologies as governments aim to revitalize their economies while addressing climate change. The expected decline in inflation rates will further normalize monetary policies, allowing for increased capital allocation towards sustainable initiatives. 2. Climate action as a business imperative. The discussions at Davos highlighted that climate change is no longer a peripheral issue but a central business concern. With 2024 recorded as the hottest year, companies are increasingly recognizing the necessity of integrating climate strategies into their core operations. Business leaders assert that the momentum towards decarbonization is unstoppable, indicating a shift in corporate cultures towards sustainability. The anticipated rise in investment in green technologies is seen as both a response to market demands and a proactive strategy to mitigate risks associated with climate change. 3. Investment dynamics in green technologies. The expected 30% rise in investments by Q4 2026 reflects a strategic pivot towards green technologies, spurred by economic recovery initiatives and climate commitments. The WEF has underscored the critical need for a substantial increase in renewable energy and energy efficiency measures by 2030. Achieving these targets will require significant capital investments, thus positioning green technologies as a pivotal sector for economic growth and job creation. 4. Policy changes and global cooperation. The discussions at Davos emphasized the importance of collaborative efforts among nations to foster an environment suitable for sustainable technology investments. Anticipated policy changes, particularly in the U.S. under a new administration, are expected to enhance the investment climate through tax incentives and regulatory reforms. This supportive policy framework is crucial for attracting both public and private sector investments in green technologies and facilitating international cooperation to address climate challenges. 5. Use cases and economic impacts. Investment in green technologies is projected to yield significant economic benefits. For instance, a shift from 3% to 5% growth could translate to approximately $3 trillion annually, which can be utilized to alleviate inequality and fund innovation. Additionally, addressing public debt, which stands at a staggering $100 trillion, demands innovative economic strategies that prioritize sustainability and environmental responsibility. 6. Climate finance and innovation. The financing of a lower carbon economy is recognized as a defining challenge of this era. Reports indicate a pressing need for innovative financial solutions to bridge the gap in climate investments, particularly in emerging and developing economies. This includes the establishment of frameworks that align public policy with private sector initiatives to mobilize capital towards sustainable projects. 7. The role of technology. Technology is poised to play a transformative role in accelerating the transition towards green technologies. The integration of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and other digital innovations can enhance efficiency in supply chains, promote sustainable practices, and drive down costs associated with renewable energy production. As businesses increasingly adopt these technologies, the potential for growth in the green sector is amplified. 8. Anticipated challenges. Despite the optimistic outlook, several challenges may hinder the anticipated growth in green technology investments. Geopolitical tensions, economic fragmentation, and potential regulatory pushback could create uncertainties that deter investment. Moreover, the financial sector must navigate complexities related to sustainable finance, including the integrity of carbon markets and the implications of climate-related risks on investment portfolios. Conclusion. The discussions at Davos 2025 reflect a growing consensus on the need to align economic recovery with aggressive climate action. The predicted 30% rise in investments in green technologies by Q4 2026 embodies a collective commitment to sustainability that transcends political and economic barriers. As governments and businesses collaborate to create favorable conditions for investment, the future of green technologies appears promising. With the potential to drive economic growth while addressing one of humanity's most pressing challenges, climate change.